Hello everyone, welcome back to class. I'm Professor Thor Buttox. And today we have the Heisman Leaderboard, which we'll be going over in class, as well as the NCAA Top 25. So get ready to take some notes. It's going to be some pretty important stuff here. This is just a brief review, kind of what's happened the last 2 weeks, who my top 5 players are. This isn't saying who's going to win the Heisman, though it's that one's probably the favorite to win. Anyway, so yeah, we got the Heisman Leaderboard here. I know I'm underdressed to be your professor. I apologize. It'll improve for next class. So, Heisman Leaderboard. We got the 5 names here that I want to. You can see the 5 names right now. But starting off, we'll go at the top. Bryce Young from Alabama. Kid's looking like a stud. 70.8% completion percentage. 571 yards. Well, neither of those are the best in the best in the country. Still, 7 touchdowns, no interceptions. Great touchdown interception ratio. Obviously, he's played great against great competition such as Miami. Not so much great competition this last week, but still he's the best player on the best team. So that's another way to look if you want to look at this. He's just looked phenomenal. So Bryce Young falls in at number 1 on the Heisman Leaderboard as of today, which I believe is I think that's the date. Great teacher right now. Number 2, Matt Corral from Ole Miss. 66.2% completion percentage, and if those numbers look familiar, 662 yards. Literally his entire thing is just, you got 5 6s, 3 2s. But Matt Corral out of Ole Miss, I think he was one of the college game day hosts, well not hosts, but participants, Heisman pick or something that I watch. Matt Corral's his Heisman pick right now, doing pretty well. Second in the leaderboard. Has more yards than Bryce Young, but that is it. Has lower completion percentage, less touchdowns, same amount of interceptions, so that's nice. Not turning the ball over, that's a big perk for both of them. But Matt Corral and the Ole Miss offense looking pretty good, looking like a pretty good team. They're in the top 25, which we will go over here shortly. Moving on to number 3, everyone's favorite, well, the betting favorite going into this year, Spencer Rattler. He falls in at number 3, mainly because of this, right here. The 2 interceptions, and against Tulane. That was the big problem there, but still, 76.9% completion percentage, 547 yards, 6 touchdowns. Completion percentage is great, okay? Keep in mind, he also did not play anyone special last week. I think the final score was like 79-0. So a little bit of a numbers booster there, but still within reason. 547 yards, again, not quite the level of here, but higher than some, and the 6 touchdowns, pretty nice. So now we're going on to the 2 here that probably the most questionable, I will admit, on my list. However, I think they both deserve mentions here. Number 4, Grayson Mccall. He is the leader of that Coastal Carolina team, not just the offense. He is the leader of this team. He doesn't miss his throws, like as demonstrated by this 82.5% and 0 interceptions. He doesn't miss. While he does not have the most yards with 507 as compared to these other 3 up here. Same thing with touchdowns. Again, really important to me is team success and not turn the ball over, which he, as demonstrated by these stats right here, does pretty well. He has very good control of himself. He's more mobile than one might think at first notice. But Grayson Mccall comes in at number 4. And at number 5, my one defensive player. I like to have at least one in here, even if they really don't deserve it. Riley Moss, it's up for debate. But 9 total tackles, 8 solo tackles. Tackle numbers aren't good. Had a rough first game against Iowa State. Indiana. Bounced back huge versus Iowa State with I think is 8 total and 7 solo tackles. But the big thing, what gets him in here, is this right here. 2 interceptions, 85 yards, and more importantly, 2 touchdowns. That's almost as many touchdowns as Grayson Mccall does as a quarterback. So Riley Moss, as the leader of the Iowa defense, you will see the jump that they have had in the rankings over the last 2 weeks, right about now. All right, yes, on to the main part of today. we have the top 25 rankings. My top 25, not the AP. We're not analyzing that. That might be a different class. So this is all me. This is a personal class. This is a get to know inside the mind of Professor Thor Buttox. Starting off, we won't get into Iowa's jump quite yet. A little bit later, they didn't jump this high. Alabama, number one. Who's gonna question that? Like, no one's questioning that. Number two. Proof that the SEC is the best conference in football. I mean, you got the two best teams. Georgia's defense is their main thing. Their offense is a little hit or miss, I guess you could say. Not quite the words I'm looking for, but it did very well with Stetson Bennett last week, who is, JT Daniels should be even better. So it's a huge thing for the Bulldogs, looking pretty good there. Now moving on. So I think these two. Well, Alabama's kind of in like its own tier. Then Georgia's in like its own little tier. Followed shortly by Oklahoma, who I did mention had a great game. I don't remember who it was against, but it was like 79-0. But the first game against Tulane is what scares me. Spencer Rattler didn't look good at first. He did picked it up, so I think he'll be great later on. But right now, they are in like their own little tiers. And now is where it gets interesting. Like my 4 through about 6, 7, 8, maybe even 9. Something happened to my 7. Maybe even 9 could be considered for actually probably not 9. 4 through 8, I think, can be considered for this 4 spot alone. But I think we got to go ahead and give it to Oregon with a great win over Ohio State. They get boosted up into the top 4. I've seen some people put them at 3. I don't think we put them quite there yet. Oklahoma's been penalized enough for not losing. I'm not going to penalize them anymore. So Oregon, as of right now, you are number 4. At number 5, now we see Iowa at 2-0 as well. Don't you all love my handwriting? I believe Iowa started off the year about here. There goes my marker. Sorry about that. Iowa started the year off about here, I believe. They then jumped up to here after a great win versus Indiana. They've now proceeded to jump up to number 5, just outside the playoffs. I think they will get in to the playoffs. I think they're on a great track, because something's going to happen to a team in here where I think Iowa will have the chance, or maybe Iowa's the team that it happens to, where they mess up against a team they should beat and get put down all the way back to over here. But as of right now, Iowa in at number 5. Great season so far, and that's why Riley Moss made my top 5. Number 6, Clemson. Yeah, that's how you spell it. Worst record team here. But their offense is what concerns me. DJ Ucla, little concerning so far. Their defense looked good. Even against Georgia, their defense looked good. I honestly, their defense only gave up 3 points. Their offense gave up 7. But yeah, and then, they looked dominant again in this win last week, but they were supposed to. So I think 6 is a fair spot. It's very close between 6, 7, and 8 for me. But yeah, I have Clemson coming in at 6. At number 7, yes, Cincinnati. I can spell. By far the best group of 5 team right now. I think they could give Clemson a run for their money. I don't know for sure about these two. Be great games to watch. But Cincinnati at number 7. I think it's extremely close between. I'll go ahead and just put up number 8 right now. Texas A&M at number 8. I think in my original poll, like for the beginning of this week, they were about here, 4, 5, 6. They then fall into number 8 because of the injury to their quarterback, which watch out, UNM's a very, very good team. No, they're not. Don't quote me on that. I've seen both the games. They suck. But A&M, I feel a very good team. I don't know how much the quarterback will come into play, and you got Isaiah Spiller, but just the difference between 4 and 8, just the injury to their quarterback just made it easier to move these teams up ahead of them. At number 9, the fall of Ohio State stops here. They come in at 1-1. Good team, should not have lost that game. They messed up a couple times, but they looked actually Oregon looked pretty dominant the entire time. But there were some great flashes from Ohio State against a good Oregon team. So I wouldn't be surprised if Oregon or Ohio State climbs their way back up into the top 6 for a great game against Iowa at some point. But of course they're gonna play each other. I have Ohio State in here at number 9. They still look like a top 10 team, and I think this you can kind of draw a line. We'll draw it here. We'll be nice to Ohio State. Number 10, however, not really being nice to. They have yet to lose, but have fallen every single week, I believe. Like their two wins are just, you beat a good Florida State team. Like the Florida State game looked good, and then you blew the lead. You ended up winning in overtime, so kudos to you on that. But then Florida State then went and lost to Jacksonville State. Well, one of the players didn't even give a fuck. And congratulations on his wedding, but I'm assuming she said yes. Yeah, Notre Dame, and then you go and beat was it Tulsa by 3 points? It was like down to the wire. You guys were losing from Notre Dame at number 10. Number 11, Penn State. Defense looked great against Wisconsin. I didn't pay attention to their game last week. I can't even tell you who they played. I just know they're a good team. Very close between them and Notre Dame. I'm giving Notre Dame this slight edge here. But, Penn State, don't like you. Anyway, moving on, number 12, we have Florida at 2-0. Can't tell you who they played week 1. Probably wasn't good. I know they played FAU week 2. Looked pretty dang good. I think Penn State, just a slightly better overall team compared to Florida. Again, very close. However, I'm giving the edge to Penn. There we go, Penn State. Just because their win over Wisconsin gives them the edge here. At number 13, some may say I'm putting them a little high. But we have, I can't spell. Coastal Carolina. And at 13, the great win over Kansas last week. Yes, it is Kansas. I get it. But they look so good. There's a reason Grayson Mccall is number 4. He's not there anymore. He was about right there. So yeah, Grayson Mccall was number 4 in my Heisman rankings. This team is great. They're just fun to watch. They look like a fun game to go to. But yeah, they fall in number 13 because I think they are better than, they could beat pretty much any of the next couple teams on the list, including number 14, UCLA, who comes in 2-0. Just blinked up. They played. I know they played LSU. and it was some Mountain West team, I believe. But they looked good during both games. It was Hawaii. That's who they played. I believe. Yeah, it was Hawaii. Gave me confidence for UNM's game against Hawaii. But yeah, so UCLA in at 14. DTR giving me some mixed vibe. Looks good, but he doesn't complete like his completion percentage. A little scary. But their run game, Zach Charbonnet, flanking on their other running back, looks absolutely dominant. So they are in here at number 14, just ahead of one of my favorite teams in Wisconsin. That's why I really don't care about Penn State. Wisconsin looked good in their win. Like, there were some issues. Graham Mertz still didn't look great, like the Heisman contender I thought he was going to be. But Wisconsin 15, their defense is great. Offensive line is phenomenal. Running back, gosh, am I blanking on all the names? I'm not a great teacher. But, yeah, I'm blanking on his name, but giving him like 45 carries in 2 games, he might die. But that's all right, as long as we win. 16, Iowa State. Had a very uninspiring win week 1. Then they go out and lose week 2 to number 5 Iowa, then number 10 Iowa. So they fall about 7 spots. I'm not impressed with them. I was hoping that they would be great. I love Charlie Kolar. I love their offense. I love their coach. But been disappointing so far. I was hoping they compete in the Big 12. Apparently not. So, number 17, we have Virginia Tech. Who's currently 2-0, and their big win was against number UNC, who is, I think they were ranked about 10th. I think just a little bit inside. Maybe not, I think they were 10th. But I was disappointed in UNC. I had high expectations for UNC. But Virginia Tech, they look good. They're looking good. They're looking like they can keep it close with Clemson, which in the ACC haven't really seen that since last year. Well, quite a while that's been. Except for like outside of Notre Dame last year, no one's really been able to compete with Clemson in the ACC. So I'm hoping Virginia Tech can do that this year. Maybe UNC kind of bounces back, gets back in that conversation. But right now, it's looking like Virginia Tech's the team. Try and give Clemson a run for its money. At number 18, heading back to the SEC. It's been a while since we talked about them, so we got to talk about it again. We got Ole Miss. My number 2 on the Heisman rankings, Matt Corral, leading the Ole Miss offense. The big thing with Ole Miss is their offense looks the same as it did last year, the high-powered offense, but their defense looks great. I won't do that for embarrassment reasons. Matt Corral leading the offense. Can't remember their coach's name, but it's not Lane Kiffin, I don't believe. So maybe it is Lane Kiffin, and I'm just an idiot. Anyway, Ole Miss here at 2-0. I think if they can keep this offense up, they can compete with just about anybody. Well, if they keep the defense up, they can compete with just about anybody, including Alabama. I'm not going to say they're going to win, but I think they can compete with pretty much most teams. Also, I'm going to draw a line there. So at number 19, we have a former Heisman candidate, at least in my mind, not anymore. Keaton Slovis and USC. Look good, look bad. Put it all together, you get 19th for USC. 1-1, again, bad and the good. But overall, I think they're a great team. Granted, the Pac-12 in general is looking pretty good this year. You got 3 teams in the top 20, I believe, if I can count 1, 2, 3. I can count. It takes a while, and I just drew it myself. So, Yeah, USC looking pretty good. Granted, their win was against Fresno State, who's not a bad team. But that's not a great win for a top 25 team. At number 20, we have another Pac-12 team, Arizona State. They've looked good in their 2 wins. Haven't looked bad in their 2 losses because they don't have 2 losses. Humor. Yeah, no, I think Arizona State, USC, and UCLA are all very close, giving the edge obviously to UCLA, USC, and then Arizona State. The Pac-12, I believe, is going to get very interesting towards the end of the year, where we get to see who's going to challenge Oregon for the Pac-12 crown. My money's on. I was going to say UCLA, but I guess we'll go UCLA because they're ranked the highest. Next, can't read my notes. Number 21, we have back to the SEC, Auburn at 2-0, because they played bad teams and they've looked good while doing it. So, and you cannot, I'm not wrong. They're in here at 21. Bo Nix finally looks competent, which isn't asking a lot, shouldn't have been asking a lot, but it took him a while to get there. Moving on, number 22, we have the University of Miami. Took a huge loss to Alabama in week 1, but I still think they're a great team. I think they're another team that can compete with Clemson in the ACC. I more than likely going to be Virginia Tech. Sorry, but Miami is still a great team. Didn't look like it against Alabama, but I think that they're another team that can compete up there with Virginia Tech, Clemson, and North Carolina. Speaking of North Carolina, I messed up. I have North Carolina at number 19. Sorry, my pen was in the way. Yeah, well, I'm surprised it took me that long to notice. Yes, I have UNC I honestly still believe that Virginia Tech isn't as good as North Carolina. I'm giving them the edge because they won. But in all honesty, first of all, I'll draw my line here. It's a beautiful line. Don't you dare talk about my line in a negative manner. UNC, obviously the loss to Virginia Tech isn't great. Sam Howell, I believe, is still the second, third best quarterback in the country. Should be a top pick in the NFL draft this year. And I think UNC is going to bounce back. I have them. That's why I have them here at 19. Number 23. There's USC. Wait, they are 1-1. That's what I thought. USC at 23, again, kind of talked about them already, so I'm going to skip over them for now. Moving on to our final 2 spots. At number 24, we have 2 newcomers to the top 25. USC was here before. Anyway, number 24, we have Michigan, coming off a win versus Washington, that's their name, who were ranked 20th in the country before they lost to Montana. So it's been a great year if you're a Washington fan. Remember when you used to be number 4? Now Oregon's there. Pac-12's come full circle. Poor Washington. We have Michigan. Rushing game looked great. McNamara looked fairly good. So yeah, I think they've done enough to be ranked 24th. I don't think it's an overstep with ranking them as we have done in the past. But I have at 24 I have them there. And at number 25 we have BYU. Going in at 2-0. Beat number 20 Utah, or 21 Utah, whatever. Beat Utah last week, and they looked good while doing it. Utah never really had a chance. But this is my top 25. If you have anything wrong with it, you're wrong. This is the perfect top 25, and no matter what the AP or coaches poll will try and tell you. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed today's class. The next class will be on the ACC, so come back for that. See you all tomorrow. Or next class, whichever one it is. English.